It is January 1938, and the Spanish Civil War rages on. The final bastion of strength for the Republican forces in Catalonia not only managed to hold out against a nationalist attack, but managed to defeat them decisively, wiping out the entirety of the nationalist air forces, leaving us now with a superiority of numbers on the Iberian Peninsula, and things are looking good for the Republicans. The French have a choice in front of them. The Germans have started their aggressions against the European nations and have invaded Switzerland and have declared war against Poland. The entirety of the German army now sits in Switzerland, decisively defeating the Swiss army with no casualties taken, and so the French have a choice now of whether to defend in Alsace-Lorraine and see the entirety of the German army have to engage the entirety of the French army, or if they should withdraw to Paris and risk the potentiality of being encircled and the French only having half their army engaged. So that's the situation there. The Germans have also made a play against the Polish territory, but have been unsuccessful so far and have not captured Dolnolasca. Other than that, things are fairly normal. In the Soviet Far East, the Japanese are still strengthening up their forces, and things are looking okay for them over here. Welcome all to Global War 1936, version 4. We are playing Operation Varsity. We are turning on the Russian turn number 4. My map is still very much out of date. I am very much out of it. I have this raging sickness, probably it's the worst one I've had so far this year, which isn't saying much. But anyways, it's really laid me up, so I'm out of coordination with some of the other stuff going on the map in other parts of the world. So I know that will leave some of what I do a little bit out of step with what should be done. I might miss some potential attacks against my forces, but hopefully, seeing as I'm playing the Russians, it won't be that drastic. Let's dive right into what we intend on doing this turn. The CCP have already been played. The Japanese player wanted to start recording his Japanese turn, which I don't blame him whatsoever, and so what he did is he spent $2 for a recruitment roll, and which ended up having to fail, and so now we collect our $3 of income, which brings us up to $5 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, $5. And so that's what we have left over for next turn. Other than that, the recruitment roll was failed. We did an influence roll, sorry, for those $2, and so that's what the situation is. Now we also need to roll for the Mongolian recruitment, so we don't forget that one. Here we go. I believe it needs to be a 4 or less, and we succeed at a 2, so that gives us another recruitment for the Mongolians. So I've been actually quite successful with these ones. It should only be a 33% chance of success, and I think I've succeeded twice out of 4 turns, so that's really not too bad. Moving on to the Russian proper turn, so with $9 we were going to send an anti-aircraft gun to the French, and then we're going to buy an infantry for the Republicans, which leaves us with, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, $2 left over. Alright, this is out of date here too. So that's what's going on over here. The non-combat moves are going to be fairly simple. Let's start with the Russians. We have, over here, we have some Russian forces. They're going to go 1, 2, 3. From C-Zone A23 to A12, we're going to move a destroyer and a Soviet heavy cruiser. In C-Zone A9, up by Murmansk, we're going to send the Soviet torpedo boat destroyer 1, 2 spaces over here to A5. And from the Pacific Theater to the Atlantic Theater, we're going to shift across a submarine to A9. I believe that's all for shipping. Let's take a quick look at our land forces. I'm pretty content with how they look. I'm going to move this guy from eastern Ukraine infantry to western Ukraine. I'm going to move this cavalry up to Leningrad. There we go. There we go. And that will about do for everything that we want to do. We're going to rail 2 units from here, from Karelia, and we're going to rail them all the way across to the other side. Actually, yeah, all the way to the other, to Amur. We're also going to pull these guys back from Primorsky Krai to Amur over here, so we have 5 infantry sitting at Amur at this state. So that seems to be good enough for what we want to do. We don't want to project too much threat here, but we also want to keep the Japanese honest. They did do a border clash against us, what was it, last turn? They took off 1 militia and 1 infantry, and we took off 1 of their infantry. So it wasn't great odds. They didn't take off as many pieces of ours as they would have liked. So we're okay with that. Now let's take a look at Spain itself. What we want to do in this neck of the woods. We are going to reinforce this position down here in eastern Andalusia, and send in an extra infantry as well. So we have 2 infantry, 1 anti-aircraft gun in Eastern Andalusia. Over in Catalonia, so I'm going to make a small correction. So the nationalists, they took off a casualty off of these guys here in the form of a anti-aircraft gun. I would have gone for, seeing as a success of how well we did with the anti-aircraft guns, that we took off 3 of their fighters. My first impulse would have been to take off the skeleton crew off the heavy cruiser, because that's something that doesn't cost me anything, and at the end of this turn I remove this marker and I'm back into action with the skeleton crew, so that's quite nice. So that's what we've got going on here. We got 2 infantry, anti-aircraft gun, 2 militia, and an anti-aircraft gun. We're also going to send this Republican destroyer out here to A44. Actually, no, we don't need to. We're going to keep it back here. Yeah, we're going to keep it back there. Shouldn't impact anything. We can't blockade any Lend-Lease coming in anyways. So that is what we got going on here. Let's go send our Lend-Lease. So the French AA we're going to send out to southern France. Yep. And then we're going to send this Republican infantry out here to Catalonia as well. So that leaves us a little bit weaker now, like 2, 4, 5 pips against here. Let's assume that he sends a fighter from Italy over here. So that's going to be something like 11 pips versus my 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus 9, 10. So 10 of my pips versus his, and that's not including the anti-aircraft gun, against his 11 pips over here. So we'll have to see how that goes, what he decides on doing. And that is not including the recruitment roll that we're going to do shortly here. So we need to roll 3, 4, 5. We need to roll 5 or less. I'm feeling that I'll be lucky. I think why not? I always feel like I should say I'll be unlucky, and I used to have this perspective 5. So we do get another infantry here. I used to have this perspective growing up that you always have to be pessimistic so that you get more luck. That pessimism was part and parcel about getting, you'd be more lucky if you're pessimistic. And so here we have it. So now we have 2 infantry, 2 militia, an anti-aircraft gun, and we'll also have the skeleton crew marker removed here. Boom. So we are back to a good strength of forces right here. That's effectively going to be 1 militia. I'm going to put it there for the heck of it. And that's the scoop. That's what's going on right now. So right now the Republicans have, double the amount of forces. If you include this one here, that's triple the amount of forces than the nationalists have. And we might begin to think about making some more pushes into their territory. We'll have to see how that goes. That's it all. Thank you all for watching, and my apologies for being such a shoddy player. This sickness has really took the stuffing out of me. So, thank you all for watching. Check out, I have one more thing to do. I have to roll a dice 6 for my recruitment roll, income increase roll. It happens every January. So here we have it. I'm going to drop it down the chute. Let's see what it is. 1. Okay, probably the worst number I could get. Well, probably. It is the worst number I can get. So let's bumps it up to wherever we are. 9. $9. That increases our amount here to 11. So that's pretty bad, but you know what? We scored the recruitment roll here, so we can't be too sad about that. Thank you all for watching, and check out the Veterans channel next for the Japanese turn. Cheers!